Welcome. It is great to be with you, to reflect with you, and to experience this week together. I have to imagine that just like me, you have heard and read and acknowledged to yourself and or others that it is now 1 year since the governor shut down the state of Ohio as the only way to stop the spread of the coronavirus and protect the people of Ohio. Those very early days were terrifying as we suddenly and shockingly found ourselves confronting a very real threat to our health and our very lives with absolutely no tools to do so. We came face to face with the limits of modern medicine as within days, it seemed, hospitals, particularly on the East Coast at first, were overrun with the sick and soon the dying, and they had virtually nothing with which to help their patients. It was such a desperate, awful time. New terms and new usage entered our vocabulary with the coronavirus. Terms that took some time to master, such as COVID-19. I remember I just wasn't getting the term right for the longest time. Essential workers, healthcare heroes, PPE, quarantine, social distancing, disposable masks, cloth masks, ND95 masks, N95 medical grade masks, live stream, Zoom, Zoom fatigue, food insecurity, spread, risk assessment, Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, J&J, efficacy, curbside pickup, touchless delivery, and a host of others we are barely even aware of anymore. Let's just take a moment. We'll continue, but let's just take a moment to breathe. To breathe with the awareness of all we have learned, sustained, absorbed, and to which we have adjusted. Let's take our good positions, those comfortable, aware positions, sitting with ease and with attentiveness. Let's just feel our necks extend a little bit, our chests ready to receive a full breath, our feet firmly on the floor, our hands unclenched, laying gently in our laps on the arms of our chairs. I immediately close my eyes and invite you to do that or to focus gently on some nondescript something in the near distance. And let's just breathe. This all began because we would daily check our breathing. That was one of the frightening symptoms of this disease. The inability to breathe easily. So let us do so. Filling our bodies with that God-given breath. Let us hold it for a few seconds, acknowledging how good it feels. And let us release it slowly. We are here right here in this place at this time. Grateful that if we have experienced illness in this past year, it has subsided. We are managing it. If we have been very lucky, we have escaped it altogether. And many of us have either received or have partially received or will soon receive that golden gift of the vaccine. Let us breathe in this moment with the acknowledgement of all we have experienced in this past year. It's been a year. It has been a remarkable year, a life-changing year, a world-changing year, an unprecedented year, an impossibly difficult year, and yet, for the fortunate, for those of us with homes to live in and food to eat, for those who could work from home, who could Zoom meetings, conferences, conventions, programs, entertainment, worship services, ceremonies, school classes, as well as virtual coffee dates, cocktail parties, birthday celebrations, and every other imaginable activity. It has been a year of remarkable adjustment, of enormous growth, of testing our flexibility, our adaptability, our resources, determination, our strength, and even our spirits. I believe that the experience of this year will continue to reverberate for many years to come, which is why I find it deeply disturbing when I hear people refer to this year as a wasted year of their life, a lost year, a year they will never get back, a year of missing out on numerous things. And yes, there has been a lot that has been missed. I do not mean to minimize any of the hardships, which have been significant emotionally, psychologically, physically, spiritually. There is time and opportunity that have been lost and will never be regained. But I do not accept for 1 minute that this has been a wasted year. We have developed skills and coping mechanisms and internal resources and the ability to self-reflect, to self-rely, to rebalance priorities. In some instances, we have experienced a kind of return to basics. So let us just take another couple of breaths before continuing with a sense of simplicity, of not wanting, of not needing, of enough. This breath right now, at this moment, is all I need. It sustains me. It fills me. It allows me a sense of gratitude. And tells me that I am well, or well enough to take it in and to release it again. And as I take in another breath, I can feel my insides expand. And with that physical sensation comes the emotional sensation of spaciousness, of availability, of being open. To this moment and what it might bring to me. And just this breath is enough. I wonder as well what the impact of this shared experience will be. It seems to me that it has not been since the Second World War that this entire nation, in fact, our entire world, experienced something so vast, so pervasive, so dramatic, and so lethal that no one escaped its impact. Many people approached it differently, but we all had to deal with it in some way. I don't know what, if anything, that will mean going forward, but I believe it will be significant. All of which I expect means that our return to normal, which is currently approaching, although not here yet, as all the experts would warn us, and to the disappointment of many, but we sense its possibility. And as we do, I am thinking that we should probably all proceed with caution as we discover, each of us, not only what normal looks like in the aftermath of this pandemic, but what we want it to look like for ourselves and beyond. The real loss would be to return to our memory of normal without asking that question. What do I want normal to look like? Before we proceed, let us pause for another moment and breathe with that question. I don't know that we have to answer it at this moment. And the answer may be, I want it to look exactly like it did before. That is very possible. And that is a legitimate answer. But it behooves us to examine it, to breathe in the possibility that this moment and moments like it, even under normal circumstances, will be altered. Let's just breathe. We have longed for it for so long. That the thought it might be different than we anticipated hardly entered our consciousness. Certainly much will be the same. But will there be small ways in which we have changed that thereby change our new normal? Interestingly, predictably perhaps, the beginning of an answer may be embedded in this week's Torah portion, Ki Tisa. It contains the infamous episode of the golden calf. You may remember the context. Moses, with the help of 10 plagues from God, finally convinces Pharaoh to let the Israelites go. They leave hurriedly, but Pharaoh changes his mind again and chases after them. God splits the Red Sea so that they may miraculously walk across to safety. Just weeks later, the Israelites gather at the foot of Mount Sinai to hear God's instructions to them. The experience proves to be too intense for them, and they ask Moses to hear God's words for them. Thus, Moses goes up to the top of Mount Sinai to receive the law from God. This is when the Israelites get into trouble. With Moses gone for so long, they become frightened and anxious and cannot sustain their new belief in a God who has no tangible form, especially without Moses to inspire them. Out of their fear and frustration, they ask Aaron to build a God for them that they can see and touch and thereby worship. Just as they are dedicating their newly created God, their idol of the golden calf, Moses comes down from the mountain carrying the most precious gift ever imagined in his arm. Forgive me, I thought I had it off. When he sees the debauchery and mindless frivolity of celebration at the foot of Mount Sinai, he casts the 2 tablets of the 10 Commandments, the 2 tablets of the law, to the ground and smashes them to pieces. We can hardly imagine Moses' fury and disappointment. In an instant, like the tablets he is carrying, he is thrown from spiritual height to spiritual depth. His dreams for his people, his vision of the future, his belief that they could be a new breed of humanity, animated by ethical principles and an ongoing relationship with God, is shattered, destroyed, lost. Moses is also shattered as he lashes out in anger, punishment for the worst offenders, and finally, dejected, he retreats from the scene. They are all eventually able to move on as Moses ascends the mountain once again, and this time it is he himself who carves out the tablets. It is not God who does so for him and for us. What I find most compelling about this portion is the midrash that develops from it, as the rabbis ask, what happened to the broken pieces of the first set of tablets? They answer that question in the midrash as they indicate that the pieces, which were also sacred because they were inscribed by God with God's words, were carried together with the 2 new whole tablets in the portable ark, created for that purpose. Thus, the Israelites carry with them the reminders of their fear and faithlessness, the reminders of their spiritual childhood as they embarked on their spiritual journey that we still continue to reach a place of true moral excellence, worthy of emulation by others, worthy of God's chosen people. I love that image of carrying the broken pieces with the whole. It was a courageous act to carry them with them, when every instinct would be to leave the broken pieces behind, to forget them, to discard them. The constant reminder of their failure must have been a source of pain and regret for the Israelites. but a powerful lesson and warning as well. In similar fashion, this last year, as painful, difficult, trying, and even demoralizing as it may have felt, cannot simply be tossed aside, cast off, discarded, forgotten. We need to carry it with us, as it is now a part of our personal history and a part of the story of our time. As with so much in our lives, we cannot separate out our strengths from our weaknesses, our good from our not so good. It is only by coming to terms with both that we grow as human beings and as God's creatures. So let us always go forward with the understanding that unless all of who we are and what we are moves together, we can make no progress, no improvement, no ascent to a higher place of being in the world. Each of us is a microcosm of the broken and the whole. Let us accept that reality. Let us rejoice in it, and let us ascend again and again and again to the top of that mountain. Let's breathe a few more moments, and then we will conclude. Recognizing all that this year has meant. All that it means right now. And understanding as well that it will continue to inform our days, our weeks, our lives going forward. Let us breathe in acceptance of whatever this year has been, whatever it has meant to us. And let us release the rejection of it, the resistance to it, the dislike of it. Let's let that go. We will be lighter, happier, freer, without holding on to the injustice of it all, the wrongness of it all. The frustration of it all. We breathe in whatever our experience has been. It is now a part of us. And we will continue to mold it in ways, we hope, that will be positive and productive and helpful. as a way to conclude, I would share with you this poem entitled The Holiness of Broken Things, a poem for this week's Torah portion, Ki Tisa. Actually, it was this week just ended. I carry my brokenness with me. It is holy as my breath, my heart, my wholeness. It is a part of me, these scattered pieces of shattered longing and battered dreams. My sins, all of them, I carry them, all of them. All these broken things that bend me and bow me, together with my wholeness, these holy things, idols to my shame, wrapped in gold and adorned in abandon. I fed the fires of that sacred forge with fear and guilt. And the altars ran slick with salted tears. I offer the broken pieces as my sin offering, for they are holy, and I carry them with me, together with my wholeness. I carry my brokenness with me, all my sins and shame and salted tears, and I place them together with my wholeness on the sacred altars. Holy, 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 they twine together in red and gold flames, broken and whole, offered together and returned to me, whole and broken, holy still, carried together until I reach the next altar. May you have a safe, good, healthy week. I look forward to joining with you next week and pray that this will be a time of gathering the broken pieces into the wholeness of who and what we are and will be. God bless. Take care.